Everybody, welcome back to another Saturday episode of whatever Samson is doing lately. I know sometimes we've been doing draft scouts. Sometimes it's a configured episode of Pull Up Trey. Today, we're talking about, I think, a very exciting topic, doing film room on a very exciting topic, the Raptors championship defense, which I think is one of the best defenses I've ever seen. I can't speak to the defenses, before I was alive or maybe before I'm like 8 years old or something like that. But the Raptors team that won the championship, I think was so impressive on defense. And we're going to run through a bunch of film for me to explain what they did well and what the motivations are. And we can actually link some of what they did to what we see in the finals today and some of the more in vogue defensive tendencies and schematics that we see in the NBA today, quite frankly. And also, yes, Kevin Durant, there's rumors that involve he and the Raptors and interest there. There's been rumors about Giannis. Obviously, myself and Trey talked about that one. I got a question about Darius Garland, who apparently there's rumors on now. I talked about Darius last year when I thought that his value, let's say, would have been much lower. But basically, I want to talk about or get into the film first. So I'll say the questions I will backload. We'll answer some of the questions about like free agents or potential trades or anything like that at the back. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel. And let's get into what I think, or I'll set the scene. So the Raptors, when they won, were a team that had an unbelievable amount of size, intelligence on defense, or feel, let's say, and mobility. Especially when it comes to the defense against the Warriors, it's going to look almost just like a Pascal Siakam highlight tape. The amount of involved that he was able to be, hanging off of Draymond, pressuring the ball, doubling, tripling sometimes, roaming off was incredible. I'm not going to be like doing Marcus all post-ups against Joel Embiid or anything like that. We're going to zoom through the 76ers pretty quickly. The big 26-3 run against the Bucks is what we're going to be looking at. The guys that they sent at Giannis, how they helped off of him and all that kind of stuff. Even how this team was able to communicate a lot of their scram switches to keep guys like Kyle and Fred out of it. And the fact that Kyle and Fred, two small guys, were, in Kyle's case, able to step in on so many charges, which we will see. And Fred is able to box out when he gets stuck and also dig in for digs when he is at the nail or something like that. The communication was really high level. The aggression is up at 90 for this team, if not 115. It's a very impressive defense. I don't know where they rank as far as like relative defensive rating over the course of time and over other champions or anything like that, but they faced really impressive teams. That 76ers team was something nasty with Butler, Embiid, Simmons, Harris, Redick, just like a nuts team. That Bucks team was obviously, everyone thought they were going to be the team coming out of the finals or going into the finals, man. People thought that team had something special, and like they had Middleton. Bledsoe was incredible that year. He was an all defense level player. He was obviously pretty good offensively as well. You have Brook Lopez in some, like, having an awesome year for them. And it's just, and then the Warriors. And even without Kevin Durant, the Warriors are still worth something. That's still a special team. I mean, they waxed the Blazers on their way out of the Western Conference Finals. And they closed out the Rockets without KD, which was pretty impressive. But let's get into the film, everybody. And if you're getting into this afterwards, this kind of stuff, it'll be time-stamped. I usually do that. So we'll put it up on screen. So this is just like, okay, so just to highlight the first thing, they're so aggressive. And, Kyle is going to provide a lot of chase up court here. He's going to be right on his hip. Now look at that, right? Like, they want to keep Mark, and oh God, this is going to be I'm going to be talking about this for so long because there's so many things to highlight, but Mark is in the position where he has to guard this, right? He's walling off JJ, even though JJ isn't much of a threat as a dribbler, and they want to keep Mark middle, and they want to throw bodies at Embiid, right? So it's not even Mark who makes the full closeout. It's Serge who gets over there knowing that Kawhi is going to slide down to get Simmons. This is going to put everybody in an overload, right? Look how many body he's seeing. They make him pick up early. Gasol meets him on the baseline. Who is going to get out there, right? They go down, and then Pascal closes out to Butler. Like these guys, these are huge guys, Serge, Pascal, Kawhi, who are throwing so much attention and so much body at these guys. And then so Kawhi hangs in, right? And then Gasol's hands tips it out. Easy peasy. This one too, look at this. Look at Pascal. He's playing deny defense on Tobias. They have to overload on JJ here, right? They sprint out. They have to, and then watch Pascal. Like that's the thing too. And these, like, man, Pascal's playing deny at the bottom end here, right? Now he's playing goalie in the lane because he doesn't want a slip to be available. Then as soon as he realizes they're going to try and move it out to Tobias, he closes space and then chases him way up court, right? And then they come out. Look at this blitz. Oh, baby, that is defense, man. That's intelligence. That's incredible. Like, let's run that back without me yammering on so much. Just trying to watch for this yourself, right? Like this, just Pascal closes out. Look how they overload in the corner. And watch he and Gasol execute this. Boom. Trapped in the bit. Oh, my days. And then Kyle jumping out after it. And then Pascal finishing this layup over. Man, final minute of that game, incredible. That's the 76ers stuff. I was like, I remember watching that at the time. I covered all those games. That was such an impressive and incredible team to watch. What a blessing that championship was. That watching that final series was incredible. Watching all the series leading up to it, man, this defense was so impressive. And also, I do need to thank Too Much Hoops Brad, because I pulled a lot of the defensive clips from he used to just clip like a lot of the defensive stuff that he really loved, and he put it on. If anybody wants to go watch defensive highlights from the championship run, he put it on YouTube. ND says, so crazy seeing Pascal stuff from 2019. He was so much more twitchy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy that Pascal never made an all-defense team. Like when we get to the Warriors stuff, every play kind of hinges on him, it's insane, but basically every play hinges on him. It was cool that he had that huge block on Shea at the end of game 1, because for some reason the Thunder were using Caruso in the dunker spot, which let Pascal hang off of and roam off of. It's just a quick thing too. Like a really interesting wrinkle is that Pascal's first final series, he was used as a linchpin of the Raptors defense to pressure the ball and help off of Draymond. And in this final series and in the series against the Knicks, well, just in general, the Pacers use Pascal as a guy to typically put on weaker defenders, than use him as a guy, a firefighter, to put out fires and show body and just kind of transport himself around the floor. At this point in his career, he's just way faster. He's incredibly quick. Now he's better at mastering angles. He has a better idea of like other players' tendencies, but you'll see like in some of these plays, Pascal will cheat upwards of like 12 feet away from his guy to muck up actions for the opposing team, and he'll still manage to get back into the play. So anyway, we're on to the Bucks. It's 76-64. A three just went down. I can't remember who hit the three, but 76-61 was the start of the Raptors' famous 26-3 run that allowed them to storm back, steal game 6, and head on to the finals. An incredible, and the defense was insane during this. Not only, just to prep this for everybody watching this, because I'll try and talk a little bit less. I need to work on being more succinct. But you can watch like the shot clock in a lot of these plays. It isn't because I'm cutting it short. It's because the Raptors had the Bucks walk the ball up the court so many times that they only typically were getting one action. And their gang rebounding was incredibly impressive too. Like Marc Gasol is not even on the court, right? You know what I mean? Like Kyle is not even on the court. They went so deep in the amount of defenders that they had to throw at these teams. So anyway, we'll let it run. This is just like Serge's stepping out. They ran a step-up screen, right? Oh, God, I'm already doing it. So they run a screen, they play drop, and then they get a switch. And Pascal is just going to step like, man, they have to keep the bottom of the defense engaged. They're comfortable with Serge switching out. They get that shot. That's perfectly fine, man. You just got a gang rebound. This play is a lot better, like a much better example of why they were so good. Because the last play, look at this. Man, this is so impressive to me. This is so impressive to me because typically, and we'll see actually later on at the end of this quarter, they don't want to involve Fred in a Giannis action. They want to keep Fred out of the Giannis action because they think Giannis will drive Fred and get fouled or perhaps an end one. But in this play, Fred jump switches onto him and they abandon from everywhere else. They're like, okay, Fred is the first piece of the wall. Fred is going to force the pickup. He's going to attack down there, force the pickup. Kawhi is going to be in rear view pursuit. We're going to have from both blocks, guys are going to step in, and we're going to trust that everyone can recover. He brought 4 to the ball, damn near 5. And so the ball goes out to Lopez. Ibaka gets for a good closeout. They manage to get in. Kawhi, because he's a big wing, can close out the possession with the rebound. They threw 4 guys there, and they don't typically want Fred in there, but they had Fred jump switch, attack the pickup point, then they converged on him. And they felt so confident with their size and mobility to force pickups and recover out to shooters. It really was, it's the Thunder do things similarly in this day and age, but man alive, they throw a lot of stuff at you. This one too. It's like, okay, move on. Look at, that's incredibly hard closeout. Not hard isn't difficult, but like, look at the way Serge just sprints out to Lopez. Because he was pointing out like, hey, who's there? And then he realized, oh, I'm there. But look at this, right? That was the problem for these Bucks, is that they weren't that good at cutting. Honestly, they were not a good cutting team, and they had guys who you could help off of, right? Like Giannis spaces out instead of cutting this. Giannis is spacing out here for whatever reason. I don't know why, because he's just gonna collect the ball there and have to try and create from a standstill. And the ball just goes back out, right? And then look at that help from Kawhi. Just blankets everything at the nail. Then here, switch out. Pascal can, of course, switch out on Bledsoe, force up a bad shot. But to go back to this quickly, the ball goes out here. You get a hard closeout. You actually get the ability to drive it and force the help. Why isn't Giannis cutting this? Giannis can cut this right here, and that would force Fred probably to come in. Maybe you can spray to George Hill, or even worse, or even better, but worse for the Raptors, is like a shovel pass to Giannis in motion while Kawhi is flat-footed, but Giannis just backs out to the line. I don't understand the decision-making, but the Raptors, they did such a good job of preying on that type of offensive decision-making. The Warriors were the best cutting team that they faced, and the Raptors, especially in this day and age, like there's a lot more motion in NBA offenses now. But man, the Raptors of this era, they faced some titanic teams, incredibly talented, just unbelievably stacked teams. Like Jimmy Butler was on that 76ers team, and he almost nearly single-handedly took the Heat to the finals by himself, right? Twice. Embiid's on that team. Harris is on that team. Simmons is on that team. And Simmons is still damn good at that point in time, right? You know, Tobias Harris wasn't probably a max player, but he's damn good too. And this Bucks team, there's a lot of great players on it. But these guys, they're too immobile. They aren't willing to cut against a Raptors team that this Raptors team was willing to be so aggressive to throw so much size and mobility at teams and overwhelm them and overload. This one too. So you'll see here, actually, just to quickly point this out, and I hope you guys care about this kind of stuff. But right now, Fred and Serge are trying to decide who's going to go up and get this screen, like who's going to be involved in the action, right? Because they're saying right now, Fred is saying like, no, you need to go and be up in that action. Because Serge is saying, why would we pre-switch this for me to be covering Brogdon? And Fred is saying, well, because I'm going to get run over like a train if I have to go up there. So Serge goes up there and Fred takes the corner. It's a flat screen that Giannis doesn't use very well, but regardless, they're able to handle that pretty well, and they just absorb Brogdon into space, right? You just switch out. And that's the thing, is like right here, the reason why Fred told Serge to go up and get him is that this is a much better position for Serge to be in than for Fred to be in because of that pickup point. So you go up there and Fred digs in. He does his damnedest. He's like, I need to keep Lopez off the glass. He does a decent enough job. They go out and get it, and that's the end of the third quarter. They already did so much work to get back into the game. Then we'll go here. This was a sidelines out of bounds play. It's already got cut, but basically what happened here is Urson entered the ball into Brook Lopez. Lopez turns. Here you go. Look at this pressure here. You know what I mean? They don't care about anything else happening. They just want to pressure the damn ball. They jump. Look at the way they converge on him, man. This is Middleton, and Powell did an incredible job getting over this Lopez screen. Middleton and Ibaka absorb him. He's like, oh my God, has to pick up his dribble. Where do I go from here? You know what I mean? And then here, they just absorb again. And once again, we're going to point out, where is Pascal? What is Pascal doing? He gets brought to the dunker spot, right? Because they're trying to work some spacing. Then Brogdon is going to clear back out to the three-point line. Pascal, because he knows Lopez is that guy and he wants to pressure the ball if he is the release valve, he's going to come up there. Now he's assessing, right? He's like, okay, corner, Kyle has me. I'm going to cheat. These guys are cheating. Urson is spaced out here in case the ball has to go out, which the Raptors would love for the ball to go to Ilyasova with like 7 or 8 seconds and 6 feet above the break. Pascal is cheating way over to try and gum up everything. They've applied so much pressure. And then Serge gets to sink in, take away the driving lane and the shovel pass to Lopez. And Pascal gets to make a beeline to the corner for a great contest. Then they close out the possession with a rebound. These guys are so impressive. So impressive, man. Oh, my days. Okay, this one too, like Kyle is just trying to stick Brogdon. Brogdon's trying to get loose, get up the court so that they can run this little, it's like a triple Iverson action, honestly. I don't know if there's a name for this, but like when you run over the 2 screens here, it's called an Iverson. But he runs over 3. But anyway, they just want to get him loose. They switch it because, of course, they're comfortable switching it. Ibaka and Pascal, they're just like, okay, we're going to switch this. He got a little bit too loose. Absorb that space. Make sure we crack down. Ball goes up. Pascal starts face guarding to make sure that he can keep Lopez, the big bastard that he is, away from the rim. It's just like, man, these guys are getting after it too. And again, look at that. Look at that. Predictive, wonderful defense. Pascal is right in the middle of the lane, yes. So he has to squeeze tighter than ever, right? Giannis is not an ideal cut there, but he has to squeeze his space, and so he has to squeeze through a tiny space. Kyle Lowry knows exactly where he has to be on the other end of. Boom, charge, going the other way. Got the lead. This one too, man. Just watching this team is so incredible. And again, like they have look at this, just quickly. This is the connectivity of the Raptors defense. What they're going to do right here is this is a late switch, right? This is he couldn't get over the defense, so Fred, okay, what are we going to do here? He doesn't want to deal with Giannis, so Fred immediately, Pascal says, hey, listen, you gotta take Lopez or George Hill. You and Kyle can figure it out. I'm going to scram switch you out of here. And guess what that does? Saves a possession from being not Fred on Giannis in the post, but it's Pascal on Giannis in the post with a double on the catch from Serge Ibaka. Then they switch back out of it, and Pascal absorbs the driver. They all absorb the driver. The ball goes up. It's just like the way they communicate is so impressive, dude. These guys were on a string, and just so impressively here again. Pascal, his primary is Giannis. Look at man. It's less so in this series, but Pascal's everywhere, dude. And then so your primary is Giannis. You go under the screen because of course you have to. Giannis picks up the ball, and again, they switch that because they don't care about Ursan Ilyasova. They're just perfectly willing to take all of this in stride. And Pascal gets called for a foul there. I think he did foul him. Pascal never thinks he fouls anybody, but I think he fouled him there. And that was one of their points. So like the two baskets that the Bucks scored in this stretch was a heavily contested layup that Lopez made over both Siakam and Ibaka, and that free throw that Giannis just hit. And like Pascal did foul him, and it was a good drive. So anyway, Middleton's going to try and test him, slide with him, all converge to the corner. Look at the way they pressure the ball. Again, absorbing these drives, get into the middle of it. And like that, by the way, that rotation from Pascal is so good. There's a travel here by Giannis. But the ball goes out to Ilyasov again, which the Raptors love. And now we'll just let this one play from the start. I'll set the scene. Listen, if you're going to try and do a behind the back with motion into Kyle Lowry, who's ready to dig and dive, we saw the steal. We saw the steal he had against Joel Embiid. He's looking for a moment, and we'll just let it play. This is the steal and the dunk. This is awesome, man. Look at this. Boom. Attack it. Pascal fills the lane. Kyle absorbs it. Boom! Dude. Incredible defense. Incredible defense. Watching that team, even watching it now, is unbelievable. Like the way they scram, the way they communicate, the way they overload and just would not get punished. These teams really struggled to punish the Raptors because the Raptors overloaded like crazy. And we're about to watch, some of game 1 and game 6 from the finals. I'm not doing any more, but we'll see. Like this right now is a box and one. I just wanted to show a couple clips of it. It will show up passively in the other. It will show up passively in some of the other highlights we're seeing. But this is a box and one, as you can see. Like Fred is the one who's chasing Curry. Sometimes it was Fred. Sometimes it was Danny Green. But here's the box. You can see it there. It's the zone +1 defense, right? So anyway, just attacks the ball. They're not sure how to deal with it. This is at the end of game 2, by the way, which the Raptors lost because of the famous Iguodala shot. This one too, you can see this is a box and one as well. I'll just run it back a little bit. So this is a box and one as well. Fred is the one chasing Curry in this case again. Just watch. And then so like what the Warriors are going to do, they're going to cut, I believe that's Quinn Cook. They're going to cut him through it to try and create like what are the sensibilities of this box. And so the Raptors are just perfectly willing to have Pascal at the top, absorb that kind of stuff. So, yep. How many timeouts did Bud call during that run? The 26-3 run, man, I don't remember. I don't remember at all. But, yeah. Okay, so this is just like regular highlights, I think, from... Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, this is... I just wanted to put a clip of Danny Green as the one. So this is the box you can see here. At the bottom of the court, you can see Danny Green is chasing Steph Curry. So, yeah. This is a box and one where Fred is not the chaser because, yeah. But anyway, again, big shout out to Brad from Too Much Hoops. He cut together awesome, a lot of great defensive sequences from the finals games, even maybe more of the playoff run, if I remember correctly. Like there's no commentary attached to them. So if you don't want to hear me talk about it and hear me explain and break down like why I think this stuff is good, honestly, just go watch that stuff. He does a tremendous job of putting it together. It's really well edited. It's slick. So yeah, anyway, here we go. It's game 1 of the finals. Again, look at that ball pressure. And I love this play. It's just like the way they converge to the ball. It's not even a highlight. It's just this passive, like, how does this team create misses? It's like Pascal's pressuring 30 feet away. Look at the way that they wrestle with the off-ball players. Kyle Lowry is in a judo match. Look at the way they collapse to the middle, everybody, okay? Because they're perfectly willing to help off of these guys. Look at the way they chase the shooters, sprint out, and converge once again. Like, the Warriors, they don't know how they want to attack this defense because this defense, its number one principle is like defend the rim. And the second principle is like be really aggressive. And it was really tough to try and figure out how to undo this Raptors defense because those are, 1, good principles, and 2, they had balls, man. They were perfectly willing to allow teams to try and shoot over the top. It was the start of the very aggressive Nick Nurse schemes that obviously defined, lesser defenses because of the defensive talent over the next however many years. It's like, we're going to let role players try and beat us, but it looks a lot different when it's like Thad Young in place of Marc Gasol, and it's like Precious Achiuwa in place of Serge Ibaka, And Pascal has dealt with his groin injury at this point, and Kyle's older and all this kind of stuff, right? But man, this team, so impressive. I think maybe it's this next play, and the Warriors. Look at that! Oh, we get a classic Kyle, a classic Kyle. Oh man, that rotation, that contest in transition. This is so Kyle Lowry, dude. Lou Dort had one against Aaron Nesmith in the finals in game 1 where he absorbed everything, went straight up, and just smacked the ball to hell. It's really impressive, but hell yeah, Kyle. I know they score on that one, but yeah. So anyway, it's just so Draymond's trying to start early offense because he's not sure what he wants to do. This one here, man, watching this team, because even this isn't even that good a play from Pascal, right? But Pascal is okay, I'm last guy back. I have to pick up Curry for a second. Just go and Kawhi too right there. So since Pascal's on Curry, Kawhi has to show a lot of body. Iguodala, for some reason, he picks up the dribble way too early. This should be a live dribble pitch, not the other one, because Kawhi can blow this up then, and you can move the ball on from Curry. And then I think Pascal thinks he's going to stay in the corner, and he's trying to point out oh, I thought we were switching, but he has to get back into the play anyway. And then there you go, steal collection. Top Shot Tesla donates $5, says, nice to see we're already scouting KD. Thank you for the $5. Very little KD in all of this. So this one too is just see the pressure they bring for this is a Marc Gasol defense, right? Marc Gasol, that rotation is so good there. But Marc Gasol is playing so high up. We remember Marc Gasol. He's big. He's old at this point in time, and he was still playing so high at the level of the screen, man. And then so they just put a lot of pressure. They're is Jordan Bell going to slip and destroy us? Do they want the ball entry to Draymond against Kawhi? Is this really what they want? We're going to sprint and hang on with Curry. Just dig in, get a steal. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, yeah, this is the... And again, they're just not really afraid to abandon, players. Pascal is on Draymond, right? And then so Clay is going to get the edge on Danny, and Pascal just sinks with him. They both sink, and Pascal's okay, what's it going to be? Do I go out and find myself on Draymond again? And he literally just hangs out at the back of the defense, in case there's a slip or something, I'm just going to hang out here. And credit to Clay for getting loose, but it's just the defense protecting the rim, ganging up on guys, hanging in, just battering Rams, just recovering out to a million different locations. They chase and they grab and they pull and they tug, and man, dude, so impressive. Look at these hands. Kyle Lowry, prime Kyle Lowry, would be the perfect player to go in and play against or play with these Thunder. Even this, the way they are passively able to just throw size, make sure they recover out to everywhere they want to be, like that too. This is such a great play. This is such a great example. So yes, Pascal and Kawhi, you're perfectly fine with those guys as your little man here to clean things up. But so Pascal is chasing Klay Thompson. So that's already something, right? So he's chasing Klay Thompson. Kyle Lowry is going to become the low man here. Pascal is late coming off of this, but because Serge jumps out and Pascal jumps out, they are blitzing the hell out of that. They're let's get the ball out of his hands. And because DeMarcus Cousins and so many teams were not yet used to the whirling dervish aspect of defense, and quite frankly, playmaking from bigs was not at the same level. Just the passing in the NBA is at a much higher level now, I think, from tertiary players than it ever used to be. But Kyle just gets to step in, man. Step in. It's a charge. He'll put his body on the line for you. Incredible, man. I can't remember. Oh, yeah. This one, too, is just again, so perfectly willing to switch things out. Danny is supposed to be on Klay Thompson, but you know what? It's Draymond, so it doesn't matter. Pascal can just see all this happening, and he can just take the Clay thing in stride. He can apply pressure up court. He can take the crossover, absorb, like relocate. They can blitz once again because they don't care, because they just throw attention at guys. And like here, he's going to make that. But they had to work really, really hard for that stuff. Man, it's just like really impressive defense. So here's game 6. I guess I'll take a break to see what some people are saying. ND says Kyle Lowry might be the perfect player on any team. LOL, yeah. But imagine him playing next to Shea on that Thunder defense. Jeez, he would be very impressive. ND says, yeah, I was going to say, feels like this wouldn't work considering how good role players are at pass/dribble/shooting now. Yeah, this is what I talk about all the time. Like what used to break NBA, and why I credit NBA defenses so much, because I completely, and Caitlin and myself do one of the most popular X's and O's, coverage, maybe the most in-depth X's and O's coverage that you'll see outside of like a front office or outside of a coach's room. And we focus in on this stuff. People seem to think that we know our stuff. And the NBA right now, I hate the stuff where they say like there's no defense. It's like, no, man, the defense is ingenious. The way that these teams are able to like work together to sort things out, to problem solve on the fly, to cover space is so incredible in the NBA, because it's so hard to guard offensive players. Because as ND points out here, offensive players, the tertiary guys, can make so many decisions on the move now. The toolkit that they have at their expense is so impressive. Like, it's not a surprise that Malik Beasley can play in a heliocentric Denver Nuggets offense, right? And play off of that as like a shooter. And then he could get traded to Minnesota and score over 20 points per game as their number one ball handler for the rest of that season. It's just like, there's so many guys who can do so many things in the NBA today. It's just like, if you give a guy possessions, things will happen. And that's what like the 4th and 5th best player can do. Nembhard is boogieing on Shea in game 1 of the finals. Aaron Nesmith blew up at the end of game 1 against the Knicks. You know what I mean? And like Pascal, Tyrese, that team is a strong link team. They don't have a weak link. Everybody can problem solve. Everyone can do something. So it's just hard. It's hard to stop good NBA offenses because there's so many things players can do. And this Raptors team was really, teams would make them pay now because of that over-aggressive scheme, and teams would have a better idea of like where help is coming from, what the principles are, and they'd cut more. They would. Teams cut more than ever now. It used to be a much more of a standstill game. And defenses are so good at absorbing stuff. It's not 2011 anymore. A LeBron skip pass is no longer breaking defenses, and you're like, oh my God, get a guy like Shane Battier who can shoot corner threes. It's like, if your guy can only shoot corner threes and he can't put the ball down and he can't make reads in 3-on-2 situations, he just can't play. Defenses are going to throw so much at you, and you have to throw so much back as an offense. Just like, man, the NBA is in a really good place. Top Shot Tesla says, still ashamed they won in those jerseys. I love these jerseys, man. Are you kidding me? Okay, let's watch game 6. Highlights. Getting ready. I can't remember if there's this one possession where they just triple team Curry. And it's this one. Oh, it's not even a triple team. But like, look at this, man. They don't care about Draymond Green. They don't care about him. Like, Pascal's applying a bunch of pressure here, has to absorb it there, does a fine job, and they just don't want Curry getting loose at all. They sell out for Mr. Steph Curry. And look at Pascal just jumps it. And Gasol jumped it. Do you know how nuts this is? Look at this still frame. Look at this still frame. And somehow Draymond and is that Iguodala, or Alfonso McKinney. I can't remember. I can't see. It's a little bit blurry for me. Maybe I need glasses, but I think it's Draymond and Iguodala. They have a 2-on-1 here, man. And look at the outcome of this. Just nonsense, because the Raptors are perfectly willing to just throw bodies and attention. Again, they're like, "Oh, you dribbled near the sideline? Guess what? Today is the day you die." Look at this. Gasol, you're an offensive player. You're a really good offensive player. You're Klay Thompson, and you think you're awesome. But then defensive player of the years combined for 3, Kawhi Leonard and Marc Gasol are blitzing you, and Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam are loaded up in front. And to beat this coverage, you have to make a perfect pass to Kevon Looney, I believe, or you have to skip over all these guys. Guess what? It's a steal. You're going out the other way. And the ball pressure, man, attack, absorb, attack, absorb. Look at them chase them up court. Look at this. Another. They throw this attention, man. This is unbelievable. It's a lot to deal with. So Gasol is going to see an opportunity. He's like, okay, I'm going to throw more pressure. I'm Marc Gasol. I'm 26 feet away from the rim. This is the defense I play with my team, right? Throws that pressure. Pascal's going to help off of Iguodala because Danny Green is going to be able to zone up both Draymond and Iguodala. Pascal sinks, absorbs it, perfect contest, miss. He got his rebound, but like you get the idea. Look at this again. Just a step-up screen for Steph Curry. Get a little bit hung up on it because, he rejects the screen. Pascal immediately steps up and meets him. No foul. They want a back cut. Pascal absorbs it, forces a travel. That mobility, that tenacity. And again, Pascal, head of the snake, forcing that pressure. They think they have something. Nope. Going out the other way. Alley-oop. Huge, dude. Again, throwing that pressure at the point of attack, at the level of the screen. Like, yes, we're going to catch this oop, but a step-up screen. Once again, Fred gets caught a little bit. This would be a problem if Pascal Siakam isn't on the floor, isn't able to absorb and step up into that space. Look, and then they just switch off when they need to. Again, pressure, pressure, pressure. Just endless pressure, nonstop pressure. Rotating perfectly, meeting these guys in the spots where they need to be. Again, you feel okay about this stuff. This was another strength of the Raptors, right? Is like they're going to try and swing this so that they can enter the ball because the Raptors are so preoccupied with Steph Curry here. They're like, okay, we can get a one-on-one with DeMarcus Cousins against Kawhi Leonard. You can. Do you want that? Nope. Like it's still Warriors ball at the end of it, but that's not easy. And again, man, look at the way they overload, dude. Just like, look at the way they overload on these plays. It's so impressive. This is also, by the way, I believe this is boxing one as well. This Danny Green is the one chasing Steph. So they're calling it out. And again, this is the great thing about these Raptors is that they have like boxing one, but they'll switch mid-possession. Because they're so impressive at communicating and they can connect 5 on a string that they can switch from zone to man to zone. They can do these things seamlessly. And so, again, sideline, Danny's coming up court, Kyle's going to go pressure. Then, boom, get the hand in. Go chase it down. I think they'll have another angle of this. Yep. Go pressure. Bam, get your hand on something. Still ended up being the Warriors' ball there, but like you get the point, right? It's just this team. The way they throw bodies is so impressive. And like, man, the way they covered the floor. Here you go. Post entry. What is it going to be? What are we looking for? Just, oh my days. Because these guys like DeMarcus was considered a plus passer for his size, for a big man. When he was on like Sacramento, when he came into the league, he was a big man who put up a triple double, who could give you like 5 assists in a pinch and all this kind of stuff. But the Raptors were a very aggressive, very talented defense. The offenses of the NBA hadn't really seen this before. This one too. Look at this. Just being on a string, knowing and being willing to sacrifice everything for this kind of stuff. So you get this stop, you rotate in, he tries to turn back. Pascal gets that block. And this one too is like Pascal steps up. Why? Because it's Steph Curry. You throw this attention, Pascal peels back. And who's there? Mind you, this is definitely a block. Gasol steps in on Draymond. That's definitely a block. He's moving because it's not about at the point of contact. It's after Draymond leaves his feet. But, you get the premise. They're always present. It's just like comes in for what was considered a charge. Again, look at this pressure, man. You're like, yes, we're going to see this charge again. It was called a charge anyway. They make you feel suffocated. And then we're going to see it here. Look at Pascal is way up here. Gasol is way up there. Look at this pressure. Look at how much of the floor is open. Look at how many players are up in the top right quadrant of the half court. Just the ball has to go out. Steph dribbled to the sideline. The ball has to go out. They have to try and make something new happen. Pascal pressures, right? They're going to try and run a simple pin down. And guess who steps out? Gasol. Because that's what happens. They're trying to take the lead here, man. This is the best they can come up with. And Gasol gets out for the contest. They clean up. It's just like this team is so willing. It was like they shared a hive mind almost. You know what I mean? And I can't remember who hit the three on the other end. It was probably Fred, if we're being honest, right? Or it was either a Fred three or an end one. I don't remember correctly. But again, look at this. This team is so smart, man. Because, we're going to see this contest from Gasol. But look at this, dude. Steph Curry. He's going to wheel around. Pascal is guarding Draymond Green, right? You're guarding Draymond Green, future Hall of Famer. You realize, Fred, nope, we're just going to stop Steph Curry. We're going to stick out here. I'm going to face guard him 38 feet from the hoop. And then our smaller guys are going to be able to hang in on Draymond Green. It's just so impressive, this team. Like, again, they switch. And then Iguodala's like, okay, this is food. But it isn't. It's Fred VanVleet with surgeon help. And they try to set a pin in, and it just doesn't work because they're frazzled, because you get so much pressure from this team. Again, final minute here. Pressure. Look at Kawhi absorbs that. Gets a hand on it. Bumps it back out. Man alive. And then they just want to release to Draymond so that he can get the handoff to Steph to try and take the lead and win the game. And, DeMarcus gets away with, a moving screen on Fred here, but they just fight through it. They just keep popping out. They just throw attention. You know what I mean? Like, Serge just recovers for the contest anyway. And then we got to show this part, obviously, because they win the championship. These guys, unbelievable. Catch the ball. Kyle, he was always like the in-between stuff. He always caught the ball. And then after that, he went and he found Masai and pulled him away from the cop, who I don't even know what that cop was. Does that cop still get paid? Is he still a cop? What happened to him? Anyway, they tried to ridiculous, man. Oh, that's the defense. Incredible. I've covered a lot of defense. I've covered unique defenses in the NBA. I've talked about them. I mean, this Raptors team is truly, truly special in the hierarchy of who's the best defense. What does that look like? I can't tell you that I remember like the Pistons defense that everyone talks about. Like, I didn't know it truly that well. I watched I watched I can't remember what channel it was. NBA History or whatever it was. I watched, I think, 2 games of that final series. And the Pistons are incredible and they eat up space. But it is like really interesting too when you look back at this stuff. You just see that the Raptors completely overwhelmed every team that they played. But when I watch it now, I see what the offensive answers are to it, because the league figures things out. Like, it was when I was writing those retrospectives on like Terrence Ross or Patrick Patterson, and I'm going through Terrence Ross film, and I'm seeing how they space out actions. I'm like, this is insane. Amir Johnson is spacing at the opposite elbow for a pick and roll. And not because they're shorting the pick and roll, just because that's the spacing. And they're like, well, if we have to release valve to Amir for like a catch and hold at the elbow, that's what we do. It's like, man, the NBA has changed a crazy, crazy amount. A crazy, crazy amount. Just unbelievable. You see fixes now. You see what teams have figured out, and so much of it relies on motion and sequential motion, like sequenced motion, that kind of stuff. Incredible, dude. I This Raptors team, it ranks as one of the best defenses I've ever seen in my life. And, that era of the NBA was truly like everybody was gearing up. The teams at the top, the talent they had was absolutely, absolutely incredible. Oh, well, that's film room time. We can talk about Kevin Durant if anyone wants to hear what I think about Kevin Durant. So nobody really knows all that much, right? It's just Jake Fisher was like, yeah, the Raptors might be in play. Kevin Durant is hanging out in Phoenix, but he'd be glad to hang out other places. You know what I mean? ND says that's why I find it insane that people think the 90s Bulls could really compete with teams now. Yeah, I think the talent level of the NBA is much, much higher. I think the nuances of how teams achieve things is just really incredible. Hand checking is real, and like there is a level of like passive physicality that you can point to if you really want to, but the NBA is still an extremely physical league. Just go watch the Thunder, man. Just watch the Thunder. They slap, bite, claw, and fight for everything. This year's Thunder. Go watch them. It looks like a mugging, and they get however many steals a game. It's still a physical league. And not only that, but guys are bigger now. Guys are faster. Guys read the game extremely well because there's so much more motion in the game now that it requires you to do more. Like the fourth best player on the floor now compared to 1996. It's just like what you're asked to do is just completely different. Top Shot Tesla, another $5. Thank you. Says Masai speaking on how that moment fuels him gave me chills. Doubt this man's desire to win another at your peril. Yeah, that it made me quite sad. Listen, I was in the room that day. It made me quite sad listening to that, quite frankly. That's the pinnacle of achievement. You know what I mean? In his respective field, there's nothing better, and he had it soured by racism, just racism, cop overreach, a lot of things that define this era of life. They haven't defined all eras of life, basically. Yeah. A moment robbed, as you say. But so KD, I tell you what, if there is, well, I'll say this quick. Kevin Durant is still incredibly good. He still scores the hell out of the basketball. He still shoots the hell out of the basketball. He still has passive size defensively. And I think he's going to have a couple more years at least where it's like star level stuff. Now, what really KD can benefit from KD's perspective is to play on a really aggressive physical team. That would help him out a lot, where he can be kind of the shot maker and the finesse that helps launch that team over a certain amount of like pressure. He'll be like the fix at that point in time. The Raptors are a really physical team. The Raptors do, with Scotty Barnes, I think have one of the most physically dominant wing/forwards in the league. Now, I still don't subscribe to Scotty as Giannis in the future and all that. Like, if only he realized how strong he is. It's like, no, Scotty knows how strong he is. He can still struggle with things, but he is one of the most physically dominant players at his position. And I think he would pair incredibly well with Kevin Durant. I think that would be 2 All-Stars next year. One of them, maybe both, makes an All-NBA. I think that would be an incredibly potent duo. That That combination of those two guys, I think, is really exciting. I think is really impressive. I don't know what it would take to get KD, but on its face, I'll say this. I think because I understand I came out and said, like, you do try and get Giannis. I think you should. I don't understand why people are like out of hand waving away Giannis stuff. Like, no, you don't want him. It's like you just full stop. You're already eliminating like wanting to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't understand that, but I do understand having, I guess, like reservations about how much would go at the other side. For me, just you have to entertain the idea of Giannis. Talk about it, see what it takes, see how you're enjoy the conversation, entertain it, see what maybe your team would be afterwards. Haggle, all that stuff. But I'll tell you this much. I think for next season, if I had to pick one side of things, which is like, what I think a Giannis trade would probably look like, and what I think a a KD trade would probably look like. I think probably, given that depth is quite important in this day and age, and having guys do things, and also maintaining like your cap sheet and maintaining your picks and all that kind of stuff, and maintaining enough young guys on rookie contracts. I probably, if I'm picking one, I think the Raptors are better next year if they were able to complete the KD trade. Probably better over the next 2 years if they're able to complete the KD trade and maintain like a deeper team with Scottie and KD. Maybe you can upgrade at guard or something like that. I don't know. But I think that team would probably be more impressive. I say that. That doesn't mean I'm also saying I don't believe in the Giannis thing anymore. I happen to believe in both. If I'm the Raptors, I'm calling for Giannis. I'm calling for KD. I'm trying to figure everything out regarding those players as I possibly can. And I know, it's just ND says, even if we don't win a lot, watching Giannis is worth it for me. Giannis is incredible. We nitpick. Boy, do we nitpick. We nitpicked Pascal Siakam a lot. And Pascal got nitpicked, and Pascal got traded. That team had problems with chemistry. That team was underperforming. Pascal was traded. It signaled what's to come, right? Of course. But Pascal, in the process of the trade talks, Pascal, in the process of all these things, everybody and their mom decided he wasn't good at X, Y, and Z. And he was. He was. He's been the second most important defender on the finals team, the Pacers. And Nembhard has quite a step up there. He has been the skeleton key on both sides of the floor to unlock so much of what they want to do. They're in the finals, man. And the way Pascal got talked about, and the way people, because as soon as a player gets announced, like, oh, this guy can be traded or whatever, everyone and their mom is like, okay, why wouldn't it work? Nobody talks about why it might work, except the Pacers, who said why it might work with Tyrese Haliburton, who said why it might work with Pascal Siakam. They made incredible trades, who said why it might work with Aaron Nesmith, made those trades, and now they're in the finals. Ask yourself why it would work. I think the KD trade would work the best. I think KD would be incredible. Man. Mel says, seeing Indiana without a true superstar make the finals give you an idea that the Raptors, as constituted, can do the same. True? I don't know. That, like, those label true superstar, star, megastar, uberstar. I don't know about that. Like, the Pacers are a much better team than the Raptors. Raptors fans, a lot of them, because I talk to Raptors fans and Raptors like content creators or whatever, thought that the Raptors were on a similar pegging as the Pacers heading into this season. The Pacers have occupied and operated as an underrated team for so long because Tyrese is better than people think. Pascal's better than people think. Nemhard is much better than people think. And Neesmith is much better than people think. And they have an identity and they play to it. The Raptors are not yet better than people think. I think Scotty is better than the consensus thinks he is. It's quite low. I still think Scotty is well on track to be an all-NBA player. I'd love if Ingram was an all-star, but Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, these guys, I don't think are like so much better. And I don't think there's a defensive upside for that group, quite like the defensive upside was there for the Pacers. People over-indexed on what they like. Tyrese has played better defense than people thought. And I wouldn't use the Pacers as an example of why the Raptors could make the finals soon or anything like that. Nesta says, would you entertain an IQ/Garland trade? Of course, dude. I said that a year ago and everyone called me a dumbass. And I was like, okay, we'll see. Everyone was like, IQ's better than Garland. No. Garland, he didn't have a good playoffs. He came back 2 weeks earlier than he should have to try and help his team win. Garland will be extremely good in the regular season next year. He'll be all-star level, maybe even all-NBA level. Garland is incredible. And people forgot because he broke his jaw. He had to eat out of a straw, and he had trouble coming back. Like, yeah, dude. Garland is one of the greatest passers in the NBA. He's one of the greatest passers alive right now. He's an unbelievable shooter. He's an incredible offensive engine. He would be unbelievable getting the ball to Ingram, Scotty, Jakob, or if through whatever means KD or Giannis came there, I don't know. But Garland is very good. Garland is extremely good. He's been underrated for a while. He had a great season. He obviously didn't. I covered his playoff exit, and I did it the X's and O's of it a lot. But Garland, as Caitlin and I were running through the tape, it was like he just doesn't have it. Who's better on defense, Garland or Quick? Garland is better on ball. Quick is better off ball. Garland is a much better ball pressure defender. Quickly is bigger, and I think he's more effective in the gaps. And I guess you can make of that what you will. But I'll tell you what they aren't close on offense. Garland is levels higher than Quickly. Although here's the thing, Quickly still could be quite a good guard in the NBA. And I'm excited for what next year looks like. The last time I talked about Quickly in reference to other guards, it was Nemhard. I was like, I would take Nemhard over any Raptors guard. And that, like, I would. I think he's an all defense level defender. I think he's incredible. And people were saying they're keeping receipts on me. That's fine, man. Everyone keeps receipts. That's what the chat is people being like, are you sure about this? And me being like, hope so. Rip D Rose says Raptors a top 6 seed next season. That would be cool, man. I don't think I'd put money on it. I wouldn't put money on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were top 6. I'd be very happy. It would mean I had good basketball to cover and talk about, and that's way more fun than talking about basketball when it's bad. And I've complained about this before, but like when I focus in on something like, oh, this cool thing is happening with the team, this player is achieving something unique, it doesn't get any traction when the team is bad because nobody cares. So like the nuances of what makes things work, it just doesn't work. When I highlighted how good I thought Davion Mitchell was playing with the Raptors, it got brigaded with a bunch of people being like, no, he's no good. When Lewis and I dared to talk about the idea of him getting another contract in the NBA, it got brigaded because everyone was like, no, you guys are idiots. It's like, this is what covering a bad team is like. It's just infighting about what the future looks like. Nobody talks about basketball. And everyone fights and everyone's opinionated and everybody stakes their livelihood and their claim of like this player over this player. It's like, is this basketball or not, man? We're just watching the film. And people, when you cover a good team, you get to talk about basketball more often. When you cover a bad team, you talk about the future. you talk about prospects, you talk about all this kind of stuff, and it's just everyone guessing what the future might be and being rude jackasses about it and opinionated. And that's just covering an NBA team on the internet when they're bad. It's terrible, dude. It sucks. It's just people being rude all the damn time. But when you watch basketball, like that's what I love. I love going through the film of this championship team. I love going through the film, and with Caitlin and I doing the X's and O's. There's a reason Zach Lowe shouts it out. There's a reason all the big analysts say like how great it is and say you should go watch it, is because it's just loving basketball, man. It's just saying like this is what works, this is what doesn't. It's not being weird about players or stand-em or anything like that. It's just hoops. It's the best way to cover basketball. Samuel Barefoot says, why do you think the Cavs would move Garland? What do you think it would take? Yeah, I did a podcast with Bob Schmidt. He's with Fox Sports Radio in Cleveland, and he has the Fear the Fro podcast. And we did a podcast before this past season, wherein I picked the Pacers to go to the finals. Although he was like, pick a team that you wouldn't expect, and I said the Pacers. He also mentioned in that podcast that he thought Darius Garland would be somebody that the Cavs would move on from. And I expressed dismay, and I was like, they shouldn't do that, but I would love to be the team that gets Garland. And he wasn't as high on Garland. And I think the reason why people aren't as high on Garland is because it seems like duplicative of Donovan Mitchell. I think that's just how people see it. And basically what happened with Donovan, what happened with Jalen Brunson, what happened with Shea in game one is that what the Pacers did was they relied on those players' relative lack of elite playmaking. Like I think it was the lowest passes made in a game all season long, game one for the Thunder against the Pacers. They didn't pass because the Pacers are playing a specific scheme to try and limit passing, to just try and keep Shea in the middle of the floor and let him shoot. They did the same thing. The Cavs against the Pacers would have been the lowest passing team in all of the NBA. They would have ranked 30th. In the regular season and in the series before, they passed the hell to the ball. The Pacers wanted to take that flow and lyricism out, and they wanted to force Mitchell to be an incredibly talented passer and scorer. And Mitchell satisfied the latter of that, but he was not a talented passer. And it's just like Garland papers over some of the unseen limitations of Mitchell's playmaking. And I think that's an underrated part of what he does. But as ND says, he says, I'm sure they're tired of the D Mitch and Garland fit on defense and having to work around that. So that's largely what I think it is. I think they do feel like that's tough to make work continuously. And especially like too, really physical players have a better time in the playoffs. And I really like Garland, and I hope he overcomes that with a healthy playoff run, but he's not super physical. He's not been strong in the playoffs thus far in his career. Maybe the Cavs are a little bit skittish of that and don't really know like, how do we overcome this? Will he be a playoff riser ever? Will he play like static, or will he be a guy who struggles? Like Quickly does not play well with physicality either, right? And Quickly, he really struggled anytime he was in the playoffs. That extra physicality just completely takes him out of his game and moves him off of everything he wants to do. He and Garland share that, although Garland has a much higher floor to his game. But man, Garland, I think those are the limitations that make, and I think also the underrated aspect of who he is that make it seem like he could move on. But yeah, that's the Garland of it. Mel says, what prospects will you and Trey look at next? Have you done Casper's? We'll probably do Casper's shortly before the draft. We'll be doing our mock draft episode. It'll come out on Wednesday, but I'm going to cover the finals in Indiana. So we'll be recording that Monday because I'll be in Indiana on Wednesday, which is exciting and cool. But yeah, we'll do the mock draft episode on Monday. Myself, Mac, Trey, and S. And S will be the commissioner, I guess, and myself, Mac, and Trey will be picking for the respective teams. So we'll see how that goes. Kasparis, like Jakku, I think we'll be talking a little bit about before, because it's true we have not given him like a very dedicated look. Just probably like 4 minutes with Mac when he was on, and he's probably the one guy left that we haven't really dug into. Gravity says, did you see Nemhard being this good back in the draft? Not this good. No, Nemhard, especially in the playoffs, his shot making has reached a level that is truly quite incredible. But, and like, did I think he'd be an all defense guard? Probably not. But I did like Nemhard coming out of the draft. But after watching, I think like 15 games of Nemhard with the Pacers, before I was covering the Pacers with Caitlin, it was my contention was that I thought the Pacers, he had immediately leapfrogged Mathurin for me as the best prospect on their roster. And there's a significant paper trail of me championing Andrew Nemhard as like a truly tremendous player from very early on in his NBA career. Although, like, I wasn't admittedly not in 2022. I wasn't like tapped into Andrew Nemhard. Although I did go to, a couple camps at Gonzaga and a tournament at Gonzaga when I was playing club basketball. And so all the Gonzaga boys have a special place in my heart because, I played some basketball there. Yeah. Devin Landry says Andrew's little bro, Ryan Nemhard. Yeah, Ryan is fun. I wonder, yeah. And Nesta says Ryan Nemhard is a guy the Raps need to target somehow. Yeah. I wonder if that would be like the Cody Williams J-Dub thing. Who knows? Drafting brothers. Usually one is better than the other. Maybe Ryan would end up being like, a stalwart all-star guard or something like that. But I honestly, I would have loved for Andrew to come back in that trade. Oh, but the Pacers are not in the finals if Andrew comes back in that trade. No shot. No shot. Although they probably would have ended up trading for Cam Johnson, if I had to guess. Or maybe Benedict Mathurin's, maybe it looks a little bit different. Maybe he's their starting 2 guard for however long. David Leverett says, would love for you and Trey to rate your own personal rankings 6 through 11. Personally, I think it's pretty flat and comes down to fit, but would love to know your thoughts. I think it is flat too, yeah. I think, I've stressed this before on the podcast. It's like, you never really know how this stuff looks. It's hard to tell exactly, like, scouting is really difficult. Like, scouting is incredibly difficult. I understand why people struggle with it. I understand why people get it wrong. And I am happy that like who I decide I like, it doesn't actually have an impact on the franchise. It's incredibly difficult to make those types of decisions. Although if you get it right, you deserve to gas yourself a little bit because you really are just looking at a young man and projecting his life, which how the hell do you even manage that, right? ND says thoughts on that 9 for Cam plus 19. Oh, that rumored. I guess that was from Nets Daily, and Nets Daily has definitely been right about stuff before regarding the Nets. So 9 for Cam plus 19. How many years? Let me look this up. How many more years does Cam Johnson have? I know last summer when Trey and I were talking about like guys that were gettable that we thought that, maybe the Raptors could go after. Like we talked about guys like DeAndre Hunter. We talked about guys like Cam Johnson. We talked about guys like Michael Porter Jr., who we thought were like underperforming. And I think Michael Porter Jr., that is a stinky contract, man. I think that's a tough scene. Cam Johnson, let's see, his contract. And scrolling. Oh, 2 more years. Oh, you said it in chat. 20 million next year, 22 the year after that. I mean, if they don't like somebody that much at 9, I think go for that. But if you love somebody at 9, you don't. But also, man, I would be surprised. I think a little bit if the Nets did that. I'll be honest with you. 19 to 9 for Cam seems like a little light, but maybe I just don't have the right sense of the market. I very rarely do. So, yeah. Anyway, that feels like a podcast. We did a lot of film work. We talked about hypotheticals, all that good stuff. Like the video before you get out of here. It'll help, present it to other people. Hopefully they want to watch a little defensive film and try and enjoy it on this Saturday. Also, if you want to learn about basketball, you can go over to mine and Caitlin's YouTube episode on Basketball She Wrote, Caitlin Cooper, where we break down the finals. If you want to know what motivated the Pacers game one win, you can do that there. Yeah, like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in, and whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day, and goodbye.